Every haunted place in the world has rumors, but only one has a legal decree from the government of India. Look at the sign. It does not say enter at your own risk. It says it is a crime to be here after dark. Chapter 1. The Sunset Law. This is Bhangarh Fort in Rajasthan, a sprawling 17th century city completely abandoned overnight. Local authorities lock the heavy iron gates at dusk, because those who stayed past twilight never return to tell what happens inside. Paranormal researcher Ishan did not believe in ancient curses. He bribed his way past the perimeter just as the sun dipped below the Aravalli hills. He thought he was hunting for folklore. He did not know that the moment the sun sets, the physical architecture of the fort no longer belongs to the living. When darkness falls on Bhangarh, the air does not just get cold, it gets heavy, like the atmosphere itself is trying to crush you out of existence. Chapter 2. The Shadow Law. The curse of Bhangarh was written in the very soil. Centuries ago, the dark sorcerer Baba Balunath lived in a cave beside the fort. He granted permission for the city to be built on one absolute condition: the shadow of the palace must never touch his sacred meditation spot. For generations, the kings complied, but an ambitious prince built a columns-heavy top tier that threw a long, dark silhouette directly over the ascetic sanctuary. Enraged, Balunath uttered a final, devastating decree: the moment the shadow touches my home, the city shall fall, and no souls here will ever be allowed to reincarnate. Ishan checked his watch. It was midnight. The ancient shadow was waking up. Modern technology cannot survive the physics of a curse. When your light dies out here, you do not just lose sight, you lose your timeline. Chapter 3. The Phantom Marketplace. Ishan's high-end gear died in a second, but in the pitch black, his ears took over. The dead silence of the desert was gone. Around him, the empty ruins of the Johari Bazaar came alive with the spectral sounds of a thriving medieval market. He could smell incense, sweat, and rotting flowers. He was not looking at ghosts. He had stepped directly into the trapped loop of the cursed city. And walking through the phantom crowd was Princess Ratnavati herself, beautiful, immortal, and utterly dead. The entities of Bhangarh are not looking for peace. They are looking for a substitute to take their place in the loop. Every shadow that moved around Ishan carried the weight of 300 years of unresolved anguish, pressing against the thin membrane between the living world and the condemned one. He could feel eyes on him from every direction, hollow and patient, watching him stumble through a marketplace that had not existed for centuries, waiting for the precise moment he would stop moving forward. You cannot outrun a shadow in a place built of stone. Every wall you pass is just another arm of the trap closing in. Chapter 4. The Condemned Court. Ishan ran for the main gateway, but the architecture was changing. The exits he used to enter were gone, replaced by solid, cold stone walls. He was dragged down into the central courtyard, where the dark sorcerer's curse holds its nightly court. In Bhangarh, the dead do not sleep. They repeat the final, terrifying moments of their destruction over and over. The air turned completely to ash. Ishan felt cold, phantom hands gripping his throat, pulling him down into the ancient dust. His watch face shattered under the intense spiritual pressure. Time had completely run out for him. The ancient Sanskrit engravings carved into the stone pillars surrounding the courtyard began to emit a faint, sickly green luminescence, each character pulsing in rhythm with a chant that seemed to rise from somewhere far beneath the foundations of the fort itself. The sound was not loud. It was intimate. It was the sound of a verdict being read aloud in a court that had been in permanent session since the 17th century. And Ishan's name had just been added to the docket. You think that sign is there to protect you from trespassers? No, it is there to protect the living from becoming part of the scenery. Chapter 5. The Unresolved Decree. When the guards opened the gates the next morning, Ishan was nowhere to be found. His vehicle was still parked outside, untouched. Inside the ruins, there were no signs of a struggle, just a layer of ancient dust that had settled over everything, smooth and undisturbed, as though no living person had walked those stones in decades. Tucked inside a dark, deep stone alcove where the morning sun's rays could not reach, sat a discarded, dust-covered, olive-green canvas jacket and a cracked brass watch, its hands frozen, pointing backward toward a time that no longer existed on any calendar. Ishan had become another unrecorded line in the fort's endless ledger of the lost. His spirit is now bound to the stones, waiting for the next sunset, forced to warn the next skeptic who thinks they can defy the old laws. Because once the shadow of Bhangarh claims your name, you belong to the court of Balunath forever. The Archaeological Survey of India does not explain why the ban exists in the language of the supernatural. They use the clean, bureaucratic language of safety and heritage preservation. But the guards who lock those iron gates every single evening at dusk, they do not linger. They turn the key, they pocket it, and they walk away quickly without looking back at the walls. Because they know that something inside is already watching the last sliver of orange light disappear behind the Aravalli hills, and something inside is already beginning to stir. If you ever visit the ruins, read the sign carefully, heed the warning, and leave before the sun hits the hills, because the gates are about to close.